we're going to refer to forget password dot get parent. So now we just need to handle exception. No exception. Spelling. Now let's test that. There you go. So it's the same thing, right? Alright, so now we get that thing, but we have to write a code too. What happens to the forget password? We didn't write a code for that. That's just a view. So that's why I separated. I organized my application into like model, view, controller. Right, let me see. So controller is the one who takes out the view. I have a view for forget password. I should create a new controller for that, which is a Java class for forget password controller. Alright, so now forget password controller pretty much just handle whatever we want it to do when user type in right and hit reset password, which the same thing, we start to put the ID for that button and text field. So fx ID equals to, this is like the email, right? And buttons here, so we'll put fx ID equals to, when you click that reset password, right, button, and on action we'll call handle reset password. On action we call that. Now switch back to the controller. The controller pretty much just need to insert the method public void handle reset password that we just created, and same notation fxml, you have to link it to those fields on the view, right? So one is text field and email, and another one is if I don't use the parents, I don't have to get it here. Like if I want to get a parent and set scene and change, I don't need to get it here, right? But if I don't have to get it. I know reset password. So if email, now we have to read from the text file or binary file, right? Because we have to check against the records if it contains in the record, right? And I already have some. Let's talk about text file, right? Let me talk about last the question that we have here. These are the binary files. Okay. When I sign up, let's look at the sign up controller who handle the sign up. So technically, just use the file output stream. in order to write a binary file, it's really important to use the object output stream if you want to write an object, because file output stream is just read the binary file, like handle the connection to the binary. But object, what's object? User class that I create is an object under model. So this is the like a model user. So it's very important to implement serializable. Yeah, and interface serializable. Then we can write to the binary file. So that's the key. So now, whenever I check that password and confirm password are equals, then I pretty much just call the constructor of user and create a new user. And then create a file for that and store the whole object, which is the user. Instead of writing user email and user password, I can actually write the whole object. I don't need to keep writing text. Right? Like last time, if you want to write a text, like it's also important that at this point I should start to create a list of the users. Then when I do forget password, I just check from the list if the email exists in the list. So I could create a list of emails, and also I'm going to use an array list. And this is the list of user. So we have to, this is a generic concept which we talk about at the same time. This is in the next chapter, chapter 19, unit 8 on your test, so generics. So we have to give a type. So user list now equals to new array list, and this is the user. I must give a type. Array list is a list. It can contain any list of numbers, a list of people, but we want to say, hey, just list of user. That's why we give we call parameterized here the angle brackets. Now we need to import it. So I have the list. So whenever we create the user, but I don't want to instantiate the list every time. So this should not be in here. Whenever you click sign up, I don't need to instantiate the list. This should be just statics or somewhere that we don't want it to be here every time. Subcontroller. So make it as an attribute of this class and make it statics. It can't be changed, it's always the same. And the best place to put array list, since controller should worry about just logic, not worry about the list, then this should go into model. Now, should it go into this class or should it go into a new class? That's another question. Right? Because user always have its own, right? So we should have a new class for user list. User or users. So naming is very important too. Sometimes you have to really think about that. So what we need is pretty much just create a set of getters. Alright. Then we should be able to use the password. We're not going to give it or sign up, say sign up controller, where I start to, whenever I create a new user, I'm going to call that list and add the new user to the list. So how do we add that list? User list dot get user list dot. Now I get the list. Add, and then email that get text. Email that getting is the user right here. Let's get from the text view. From the view. Actually, I don't want to do that. I want to add the users, not the text. Right? Is the user list, not the email list. From the user, I can get the email. Well, from user that get email and user that get password. Alright, so then at this point, when I check the password, it's going to be very easy now by going to user list. You see, I talk to the model, right? My view is password that user entered email. I need to check against the model because that handle store the data, and controller is the one who control the logic. Okay. If you organize the files this way, it's very easy for you to understand the code, right? So user list dot get user list dot contains. Is it containing this email, right? Now it's going to be challenged a little bit here. So the challenge at this point is, this is a user list, not an email list. I can either loop through the list and compare string for email, or create the email list and then just look at contains. The two options. So we can do the same if we want to create an email list. Or we can just oops. So we're going to look them. Then we don't have to create a new list, email list. So instead of contains, we just get we're going to have to get index because we have to do I, and we're going to say user equals, and import that class in, and we have to write a loop down for int I equals to 0, I less than the user list dot get user list dot size less than the size, then I plus plus. So we start to loop, start to get each user, and then we want to